Frustrated with tricky N8N setups? Let's simplify it. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to install N8N on Google Cloud's free tier using Docker Compose, automating the process to save time and skip errors. I used to struggle with commands myself, but not anymore. Get ready to streamline your automation. Let's dive in. Well, hello and welcome to the N8N installation tutorial. We will now install N8N on Google Cloud Platform, and we will be using Docker Compose. So instead of typing in commands, just to explain to you, the reason why we're using Docker Compose is because we want to automate everything as much as possible to avoid A, human error, and B, wasting time for both human error and in case we are still trying to remember any commands that we forgot. Well, case in point, N8N is an automation tool. So to cover the steps very quickly, we will install Docker and Docker Compose, create a volume where we will install our N8N, and we will create a directory called N8N setup, change into it. We will create our Docker Compose YAML file, which will keep this configuration, which we can change at any time we need to change it, like any kind of specific version we want. I selected the latest, whichever it is. And we can select the IP, whichever IP the instance that we create has. In our case, we will be using a URL for a reason that I will explain later on. We will keep the security cookie false because there is no way we can open this URL. I mean, N8N refuses to open without HTTPS unless we have secure cookie false. So this is a security issue that I'm opening N8N2. I am aware of it and I'm making you aware because you will get vulnerability to man-in-the-middle attacks. You are not using HTTPS, which is why you need to set N8N secure cookie to false. And volumes, N8N data, which is the volume that you've set up over here. And of course, you will then start Docker Compose up and check for logs, which is always advisable. So without any further ado, you gotta set up your Google account, set up the billing information, and you will not be charged because we're gonna keep everything within the free tier. And what is this free tier, you may ask? Well, according to Google, VM free tier, if you just scroll down and see compute engine, you'll be able to see that you can use a E2 Micro, Oregon, Iowa, or South Carolina, as long as it's one of these three. 30 gigabytes of standard persistent disk, 1 gigabyte of outbound data to anywhere in the world, excluding 2 regions here. You can have as many instances as you want, by the way. The limit is by time, not by instance, so you're safe. Now here, you'll have to click on console once you've set up all your billing information. If you haven't, it will kind of force you to. And you will have to create a new project if you don't have one. Mine one is N8N experimental. You'll have to create a new VM, so that's exactly what we're gonna do. And we're gonna call it something tutorial. So in this case, N8N YAML tutorial. Pretty self-explanatory. I can be with Iowa, but I kind of prefer Oregon for some reason. So we're gonna select E2, and then we will pick E2 Micro. Now that is fine. Now when it comes to storage, we will change to standard persistent disk, not 10 gigs but 30. Select, wait a little for this to, okay, it's done. You will see monthly estimate $7.31, but this is just a tool doing its job. Don't blame it. As long as you are still within the bounds of the free tier, you will not be charged. So now we will go into networking and allow HTTPS traffic and load balancer health checks. Create. This will take a little while. It's creating an instance after all. I already have a few instances here created. I will just filter this just to keep everything simple. Alright, so we have our instance, but we have a problem. So most of the APIs that you get to use with N8N will require you to be HTTPS compliant. At least Google will ask you to have an HTTPS compliant URL with SSL and all that fancy stuff, just so that your app is more secure. It will not accept if you have an IP address because it's part of their rules. So I'm obviously offering you a workaround, a free workaround, because we're just testing this application. We already took the security cookie away, so obviously we're just throwing sand at Google's eyes. So we're going to be using Infinity Free to create a URL. First, you can create everything free. You can create an account, choose a free plan. Please confirm that you are human. Yes, I am human. Alright, success. I'm human. So let's just put it tutorial YAML something N8N. Alright. Check for availability. It's probably available. Alright, already saved the password. Email consent I approve. Create account. Doing this as fast as I can so we don't waste any time. Time is precious. We're setting up your hosting account. So meanwhile, we don't really care about the domain to be visible anywhere because we're just using this for a redirect. Okay, we're just throwing sand at Google's eyes. This does not make your N8N app any more secure. Okay, we are just doing this to bypass the Google's compliance for security. I mean, so that our app is compliant. Anyway, this is just for testing purposes. I do not recommend this. All right. So we will now head over to management here. And we will go to redirects. No redirects yet. Add redirect. Temporary, no, permanent. And now we will head over to not here. We need our external URL. And we will select this as a target URL. Now, of course, we should place something like this. And of course, the port. This is why I'm saying it doesn't make your application any safer. It's still gonna put you in this HTTP URL. It's not HTTPS still. You're still vulnerable, but you're bypassing with an SSL secure domain that Infinity Free provides. So now I will just go ahead and click create redirect. All right, redirect has been a deed. Now, we're back in our compute engine and we will open SSH. Here's where the fun begins with all the commands. And also, I recommend you to have a nice cup of coffee while waiting because this is going to take some time, especially the first command when you're updating everything. All right, so hold on a second. And here we are. Now, we run the first command to update everything. Excuse me. And I'm gonna skip forward, fast forward, whatever, because this is gonna take some time. You will see a progress bar here. Sometimes it looks like it's stuck, but it's not. It's just very slow because you have a very small instance running. Like, it's gonna say stuck on a certain percentage, and then it's gonna go up very slowly. So. Actually, it's faster this time for some reason. Alright, so it has been completed, the update. Now we will proceed with the Docker and Docker Compose installation. Copy paste these two commands. It will take a short while, way shorter than the other one, I promise. You'll still have to see this progress bar sometimes get stuck, but it will push through. As you see, it's fairly quicker. And we're almost done, 99%. Most of the times it gets stuck in there and then it just moves on. So we just get the next command ready on clipboard. All right, it has finished. So now we will just continue with enabling Docker, and then we will start Docker. Should be fairly quick. There you go. Fairly quick. Now we will create a volume, which is N8N underscore data, which is where we will save, or I mean install our N8N. I mean copy. There you go. So that is it. Now we will create the new directory N8N setup and change directory into it. Very important, because here is where we will create our Docker Compose file. And now I want you to pay attention to the following, because you need to paste your URL here, the one that's going to redirect you. So you just go to your -infinity free account and you copy the URL that's going to redirect to the target URL. This is a very well, cunning workaround, if I do say so myself. It's not really secure, but it works. So this is just for testing purposes. I cannot stress this enough. This is the URL that you're going to use when Google asks you to do the authentication, to use the APIs, or any API that you need to use. You're going to use this URL. Okay. Also, make sure you don't have any spaces. I will take care of that in a second. Volumes, N8N data, N8N data, all fine. Secure cookie false, yes, because you're getting redirected to a URL that is not HTTPS compliant. So if you don't have this, it will not work. You can try it in your own free time. I will not waste anyone's time with that experiment. So version 3.8, etc., etc. Okay, seems fine. Copy paste. Now these spaces, you need to take them out, otherwise it will not work, because when you create authentication with Google, it will form a URL to call back. You thank me later, delete the space and this dash, otherwise it will put a space and a dash and it will make a malformed URL. Like, it will have a dash, a space, and then the URL. And a URL with a space, it's just not going to work. So make sure you delete these two. I believe the dash is not needed. Just to be safe, I'll delete this one as well, and it should be fine. So now I will just press Control X and save modified buffer Y for yes, and enter. There you go. Now, very important detail, you can only run the sudo docker compose up within this directory. If you do it outside, it will not work. So you run this command and it will take a while because you're, well, setting up N8N. It's downloading everything into it and then it will set it up. So bear with us for a second. I will fast forward. Well, all right, so creating N8N, done. Now you should be able to go here, go to this address, but you're gonna have an error. It can be reached for one simple reason. You see, if you check the logs right now, you're gonna see that it takes a while to reply because the CPU is busy. And it's busy because it's not as done as you think it is. Yeah, it is done with the stage of pulling everything, but it's still attaching to N8N, and it's probably still doing migrations behind the scenes, and that takes a little while. So this is something that I thought I would add to this tutorial. Check the logs. Always check the logs on everything. Anytime you have a server in your hands, always have the logs at hand because it's very useful. Like, this is my 11th time configuring this. And the first times I thought I screwed up, I did something wrong, and apparently when I checked the logs, oh, so it's still doing some work behind the scenes. So please bear with me. Alright, so as you see, editor is now accessible via, you know, our URL, the one that's going to redirect us to an unsecure N8N. So right now we see the old error cannot get whatever because it was still installing. So see, redirects and boom. Now all we gotta do is email, first name, last name, password, next, and there you go. You're within N8N. Whenever you sign up to use an API, whether it be spreadsheets or whatever, you will be bypassing Google's security for HTTPS compliance and SSL, whatever. And again, this is not secure. Do not use this for a client. I cannot stress that enough. Please buy an official license if you're going to implement this for a client. If you're just testing out or creating workflows to sell later, that is also fine. But for any reason, don't put any sensitive information in this because it's very vulnerable to man-in-the-middle attack. Today, we nailed installing N8N on Google Cloud with Docker Compose, saving time, avoiding errors, and launching automation effortlessly. I learned to trust the logs and bypass setup stress. Want more automation hacks? Subscribe, and let's keep the journey going.